you. The first one being ghee. It's one of the basic staple pantry ingredients in Indian households. It's so easy to make. Needs one ingredient, and I would say it's almost like brown butter, but not almost. You have to stop cooking it a little bit before it gets overly browned, and you don't have to skim the foam or anything. So it's super easy. In your boxes, you got salted butter. Usually I use unsalted butter, but salted works fine. The brown bits will absorb all the salt, so your ghee will still not be salty. So it's totally okay to use the salted butter. So I know the box was 16 ounces with 4 sticks. We're gonna cook 2 sticks right now just for a quick demo, and then you can make more ghee, obviously. So here I have a 2-quart heavy bottom stainless steel pan. I'm just gonna go ahead, unwrap these sticks and add it to the pan. Just make sure your pan is dry so it cooks evenly and nothing splatters out of the pan. If there is any moisture, it will eventually start splattering. And so just leave the ghee in there. Right now, my heat is at medium. If you are going to watch it, you can always increase the heat until the butter melts and then eventually lower it. Again, a pretty easy, no-fail recipe. If you do end up overcooking it, it's great. It gets nuttier, smells amazing. If you undercook it, that's fine too. You might get like a couple spoons of less ghee, but it's still equally delicious. And ghee is something that in India we use mostly for making sweets, but there are a lot of recipes like biryanis or some of the North Indian curries where we use a lot of ghee. In Western India and Southern India, where we make rice dishes, we use a lot of ghee. So lots of uses of ghee. You can pretty much replace any recipe in Indian food that has oil with ghee and it will taste delicious. It just has these beautiful nutty aromas. And I'm going to actually tell you some other fun ways to use ghee, but I just want to show you guys that it started to melt, and I'm just going to give it a quick stir so it sort of cooks evenly. And super easy. This is going to take about 8 minutes for us to make the whole recipe, and you'll see how it goes. But again, I have my heat at medium. If you guys are cooking along with me, go ahead, put your butter in the pan, cook it at medium heat, and we'll start melting the ghee. And then I'm going to show you the different states in which the butter will melt and then get all bubbly and then eventually get nice and golden brown. You don't want to make it overly brown. You want to make it like beautiful golden brown. So I was talking about some of the other uses of ghee other than making food with it. You can replace any baking recipes that call for butter with ghee. On my site, I have a delicious brownie recipe with ghee, and it's so amazing. Everybody loves it. Kind of a healthier version of the regular brownies. You can also use it on your skin in the winter season. So you can use it as a chapstick. So just like dab your fingers once it's nice and cold and put it on your lips. You can put it on your face. You can put it on your hands, and it just will make your hands and your lips like nice and soft, retains the moisture really well, and it's all natural. There are no additives or anything in it, so it's really great. So right now, like all the butter has melted, as you guys can see, and it's gonna get really bubbly on the top, and then eventually I'm just gonna lower the heat a little bit so it doesn't suddenly start to burn. But again, just melting, really bubbly. I don't yet see the bottom of the pan, but once all of the lactose in it has cooked, then you'll start seeing the bottom of the pan. And Vandana, chime in if you have any additional things to talk about ghee from the nutrition standpoint. I mean, one of the things I know as a food blogger is that ghee is also Whole30 approved. People who are allergic to ghee, a lot of them can actually have ghee. Anything else you have to add, Vandana?
Yeah. So because you do the straining process, a lot of the lactose is gone from the ghee. And so those who are lactose intolerant most likely can handle ghee, but it depends on how sensitive you are.
Okay.
So something to just keep in mind. But
Yeah.
it's definitely part of the Indian heritage, but it's become very popular. You can find ghee at any store now here. But I would say
Yeah.
make your own because it's so easy and
It's
it's
so
fun.
easy to make. Yeah. And the good part about ghee, I feel, is its shelf life. I never refrigerate my ghee, so you can just put it in a clean glass mason jar at room temperature. And people always are like, how long does ghee last? If you really cook it well and don't put like wet spoons or anything in there, to me, ghee lasts forever. Literally, like, not even kidding. Nothing really happens to it. It may go from like a solidified to a more liquidy state, depending on the weather, depending on the temperature in your kitchen. So in the winter, my bottle of ghee is pretty solidified. And in the summers, like maybe the top half is like melty, golden liquidy, and then the bottom one is like more crumbly and kind of thickish, almost like coconut oil, right?
Yes.
So you don't necessarily have to refrigerate, but again, if you're not going to use it too much, then you can absolutely refrigerate, and that's fine too. So I'm actually going to go ahead and turn off my heat because I have this induction stove that kind of stays hot for a few minutes, but you can see this is all now become frothy. And if you just move the froth a little bit on the side, it's kind of hard with such a small quantity and amount. You will start seeing the bottom, and I'm just gonna show you guys how this looks. It's just beautiful golden yellow, and because of the heat that it was cooking at, it's kind of continuing to cook for the next few minutes. And you guys can see like this side is starting to become brown, which is perfect. That's when you want to stop cooking. And I'm just going to take out this pan. The bubbles will settle in a minute once it cools down, and you will be able to see at the bottom of the pan. But we're going to go ahead and allow this ghee to cool down while we make our kati rolls. And then I'm going to show you guys how I strain my ghee. So are there any questions on ghee, Anne, before we move on to the kati rolls?
No questions on ghee.
No questions. All right.
I think it's just so simple.
So simple. Yeah, it's one ingredient. You melt it until it gets nice golden brown. Let it cool down. And then we're going to go ahead and strain it in a dry flash jar. So super, super easy to make.